Right now, I do want to get right back into some of the headlines that we are following this morning on Live Now from Fox. Take a look at this video, a very tragic story coming in out of California. Now, we are still working to get information after a B-52 bomber crashed shortly after takeoff at a U.S. Air Force base, killing all 8 people on board. Aerial footage that you're looking at right there showed virtually nothing left of that aircraft that went down around 11:20 a.m. local time during a routine test mission at Edwards Air Force Base, which is north of L.A. Those on the B-52 included government contractors and uniformed military. Aircraft manufacturer Boeing confirmed Monday evening that 2 of its employees were on board. Now, we know that an investigation is underway, and I do want to bring in Matthew Whiz Buckley, decorated Navy F/A-18 fighter pilot, Top Gun grad, and founder of the No Fallen Heroes Foundation to discuss it all. Whiz, thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to join us here on Live Now.
Good morning, Josh. Brutal day for the military aviation community, especially the test community out there at Edwards. Very sad.
And of course, I know that I've talked to you about this before, but essentially first, the question that folks like you ask is not necessarily what happened, but how is the crew?
Well, that's immediately the first thing. But Josh, as soon as I saw the cell phone videos coming out, you just kind of knew nobody was getting out of that airplane. And it's sad, Josh, because that was packed to the gill. Operationally, the B-52s usually fly with 4 to 6 air crew. It depends on the mission they're performing. But as you just said, this is from the 412th Test Squadron. So they had a couple civilian contractors on board, I believe, from Boeing. So eight souls lost. And as you're seeing right there, something obviously catastrophic happened on takeoff, Josh. The B-52 has 8 engines. And talking to some of my bomber buddies, they can fly with 4 of them gone. So I'm shaking my head. And I'm not one of the, it's interesting, Josh, because, a lot of civilians sit there and say, oh, we shouldn't speculate. Wait for the official report. That is absolutely false. Everybody in military aviation, when something like this happens, you want to start speculating immediately. Why, Josh? Because as you and I are talking right now, there are B-52 crews on the tip of the spear flying missions. We want to know as soon as possible if there's something wrong with the aircraft or something operationally. We need to change immediately to prevent further losses. Now, obviously, there will be an official report that comes out. I guarantee you the control tower at Edwards has a lot more cameras, and they most likely have footage, and they probably have an idea of what happened. But Josh, it's a gut punch. I mean, sadly, to date, we've lost 13 souls, 13 heroes during Operation Epic Fury. And then here we come with a loss out here in the desert, out in the test community. It's devastating, Josh. And obviously, it's to the families at this point. All the families, the friends, the squadron mates, the co-workers of those lost. That's who I'm thinking about today.
And of course, right there, quote, "It is with profound sadness that we mourn the loss of 8 teammates today at Edwards Air Force Base." This was last night. "My thoughts are with the bomber and test communities during this difficult time. I am keeping the families, friends, and loved ones affected in my prayers." And one thing I want to ask you about, this, according to the Air Force, was a, quote, routine test mission. Can you explain for folks out there what that really means?
Well, Josh, in 15 years of fighter aviation, I lost 16 buddies, and not one of those was a combat loss. That was bad weather, stupidity, training, mechanical issues. So there is no such thing as a routine mission. I get what they were getting at. This was, I believe this squadron in this test was working on some radar stuff. And, I get what they're getting at is, hey, this was just going to be a normal test flight. But Josh, you and I wouldn't be talking right now if it was just a normal test flight. I'm going to age myself a little bit. I remember being a junior in high school when the Challenger exploded. We got so used to those space shuttles going up that, the media didn't even cover it because it became, you ready for the word, routine. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely nothing routine about military aviation. Like I said, burying 16 buddies in 15 years, and not one of them was a single combat loss. So aviation is it's a very, very tough environment, Josh, and nothing is routine about this. This is why if you're a B52 crew or family or some of those civilian contractors, you're sitting at work today trying to figure out what potentially happened with this. Does this impact operations currently? But I think this was out of the 76 B52s, they have 4 test beds. What does that mean? So they would carry, Josh, these B52s can obviously carry a lot, and they can get up to higher altitudes. So they would hang a lot of stuff off these test aircraft, other rockets, experimental lift vehicles, satellites, large missiles, and they would get up to altitude and launch these things even higher into space. So these B52Hs are workhorses. And I said a couple minutes ago, I'm going to age myself. I'm not as old as these aircraft. Josh, we have a serious problem in our bomber community. These B52s came online in the mid 50s, man, operational, late 50s, 60s. Our grandparents flew these bombers. So Air Force has a problem. We got to modernize these airplanes, especially the test beds, because they're doing a lot of flying, Josh, and they're doing a lot of dynamic flying. These bombers and the crews that fly them deserve our utmost respect, but they also deserve our best technology and most current equipment.
Can you explain, and you talked about this already when we started talking, but how an investigation like this will kind of progress from here? We know this is going to be a federal investigation. We'll likely get a preliminary report, and then we'll get some more information as time goes by. But there is a possibility, I guess, that essentially those officials already kind of know what happened.
Well, Josh, since this was a test aircraft, I guarantee you there was a room full of people, almost looks like a cinema with screens and sensors. There was a lot of stuff being monitored on this aircraft. I mean, that's the whole point of a test. It's not just the people on the airplane looking at stuff, it's people on the ground. So I guarantee you that they have a pretty good idea of what happened, but obviously the military, for obvious reasons, isn't going to come out today and start explaining what happened. But like we talked about, it'll get out pretty quickly to the B52 community because it has to. I'd be a little worried right now if I were a bomber crew going, hey man, do we have to look at something on takeoff? So they'll step through the process, Josh. I've been involved in mishap investigations in the military, and we don't call them these are mishaps, Josh. A lot of people say, oh, an aircraft accident or crash. These are mishaps. There's no such thing as an accident. Something occurred, and they will take a look at the chain of events. It's a well thought out process to go through an aviation mishap and the members and the investigation. It'll be airtight, but we'll get something to the bomber crews as quick as we can because they are on the tip of the spear, Josh. Operation Epic Fury, even if we got a deal signed, I guarantee you they're still flying missions just in case.
And you and I haven't really necessarily discussed this overall, but when you kind of step back and take a look at the investigation itself, why would you say, or would you say it's important for that transparency, not just with other military members, but essentially with the public, that as the information comes in, that's released to the public and they get kind of some details? Where do you stand on all of that?
Well, Josh, one of the places I stand right now is a little sad. When something like this happens, there are actually people in this country who go to like politics, like, oh, there's a lot of airplanes crashing under President Trump. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, we lost a Marine Corps F-18D. I think it was up in Washington State a couple days ago. It was a 2-seater, but nobody was in the trunk, and the guy ejected out of that aircraft. We lost an Apache, a week ago that was shot down by the Iranians in the Gulf. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in military aviation. It has absolutely nothing to do with the person in the White House. So long answer to your question is, why do they want to kind of get this report out to the public quickly? It's to tamp things like that down. But Josh, some of these people would complain it's not hot enough in hell. Some people just need things to complain about. But our government obviously is built on transparency. We, the people, want to know what happened, but we, the people, also want to just know what happened because, man, it's 8 souls. It's 8, folks who woke up yesterday morning, Josh, put on a flight suit, put on their boots, wanted to do the best test flight that they could and get some flight time in, and they're no longer with us. So we obviously want to be transparent for all those reasons. But for the political folks out there, man, give it a rest. I mean, it's just it ain't the time. You should be worried about the family, the friends, the squadron mates, the coworkers of those who have transitioned instead of using this for any sort of partisan purpose. It's sad. It's sad, Josh.
And of course, their family and friends in mourning as well here. Matthew Whiz Buckley, thank you so much, as always, for being here with us. Anything you want to add, anything we missed that you want to make sure gets mentioned before I let you go?
Well, Josh, I mean, I'll believe it when the ink's dry and things are happening, but let's get the young men and women on the tip of the spear home safe from Operation Epic Fury, because obviously things happen in aviation and the military, even when the enemy isn't shooting at you. So let's get everybody home safe, and God bless our troops.
All right. Matthew Whiz Buckley, thank you so much for being here with us. As always, we definitely appreciate it.
We'll see you, Josh. Thanks.